engineers, and various Indian science academies. His insights will be invaluable as we explore the challenges educators face in meeting industry expectations. Welcome, Professor Viswanadham.
Next, we have with us Professor P. Sreenivasa Kumar, a distinguished faculty member in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Madras. With a rich academic background, including a bachelor's degree from SVUCE and PhD from IISc Bangalore, he brings extensive experience from ISRO and Center for Development of Advanced Computing. Professor Kumar's research spans database systems, ontologies, semantic web mining, and parallel computing with a focus on knowledge representation and applied ontologies. Notably, he is known for his work in various domains, from automatic question generation to software engineering. His popular NPTEL course, From Introduction to Database Systems, reflects his expertise and dedication to education. Welcome, Professor Kumar.
Next up, please welcome Dr. Maniam Kaliannan, Associate Dean and Professor of Human Resource Management at University of Nottingham, Malaysia. With extensive experience, Dr. Kaliannan teaches diverse modules from tourism management to leadership and change. His research spans HRM, talent and knowledge management, and public sector economics with publications in renowned journals and conferences. Let's invite him to share his expertise in bridging academia and industry in HRM education. Welcome, Dr. Kaliannan.
Next up, we have Dr. Galyna Kogut, a prominent researcher at the National Institute of Education, Singapore, and a PhD graduate from Nanyang Technological University. With expertise in linguistics education, digital pedagogy, and cross-cultural understanding, she is known for her work on AI integration in teaching. Dr. Kogut is also an accomplished author and cultural advocate, serving as president of the Ukrainian Club in Singapore and founder of the Ukrainian Language School. Welcome, Dr. Kogut. The panel is now open for discussion. Please note, this session will be followed by a Q&A round for about 10 minutes. Hence, all are requested to be attentive and be prepared with questions. Now, without further ado, I welcome the chairperson, Professor N. Viswanadham, to set the context for the session. Sir, please.
Hello, you want me to stand up or I can sit and talk? Or?
Yes, whatever way you.
So this is okay. So basically, to organize this session, okay. To organize this session, I'll follow the following. That I'll make a very brief presentation, and that should be followed by my panelists, all the three of them, and we'll have last 10-15 minutes for questions from the audience to the panel. So let us start this. So this is my panel. And what is the role of higher education? The role of higher education is, I think I'll stand, to see training the students to be future ready to work with the industry. I will show you in my slides that things are changing very fast. There are disruptions, there are new innovations, and so on. So the students have to be future ready. If all of you look back, 10 years back or 20 years back when you study the subject, do you know what you're going to do after 20 years? Whatever you are doing today, is it what you have studied? It is not. So same thing happens to your students. So it is important to make them future ready. And also the faculty become very important. It is the faculty who basically teach, they do research, they connect, and so on. So the faculty also need to be connected with teaching interest in new technologies. In other words, for example, when COVID came, you have to teach online. Knowledge and train students. Then, of course, it became very, very important to collaborate with both industry and government, because what industry needs is the one that you need to, this one, and become a platform for startups. Startups, the students have to become startups owners, and it has to become a platform. We should encourage them and so on. So AI in the industries, because there are a lot of new technologies which are coming in. IoT to cloud to big data analytics, 3D printing, blockchain, etc. And these are creating new industry giants. If you ask an auto company, who is your competitor? They will say another auto company. But not now. Now Uber is your competitor. So basically, it is not the new technologies are changing the competition, everything, and so on. And the digital information that customers, products, partners, and employees build through sharing computing devices through mobiles and all that, that becomes very important and it becomes a business value. So use of machine learning and AI is becoming a new norm for decision making both in government and industry. Everybody wants to use AI and this one. So how do you basically do this, help the industry in terms of becoming AI dominant? Startups in every area such as edX, edtech, fintech, healthcare, entertainment are disrupting well-designed companies like banks, hospitals, retail malls, movies, universities, etc. So there is a environment is changing a lot, not only industries, not only business, not only the social detail, everything is changing. So earlier people used to talk of I should own my assets. Now assets are not, mines are not important, but what is important is information, knowledge, relationship, and integration. So data becomes the oil. That's what everybody says, data is the oil now, and so on. So fundamental shifts are occurring in industry core competencies. There are a lot of disruptions from COVID, military conflicts, Russia-Ukraine war, technologies, startups, business models, and defense spending is rising. This is one of the things that is surprising. Every country is spending their defense supplies. Deglobalization, de-urbanization, and localization are on the rise. So these are changes in the industry. So agenda is supply chain, predict future disruptions to act before they occur. AI becomes the predictive analytics. AI provides the predictive analytics for this. So the disruptions are causing this. And one thing, I don't know whether you have seen this graph. The human lifespan is increasing. It has gone from 35 to almost 60 worldwide, whereas the corporate span is decreasing. So it is going to be, almost people are saying it is going to be 25 in 2029. So the corporate life is decreasing. So basically there is a lot of change that is happening in the industry. So industry has to change itself. So big data and decision making. Now everybody talks of data. Everything is given data, either it is the social media or it is industry or everything. And what is the big desired decision and what marriage of data and algorithms can use? What do you want to decide? You want to decide which supplier to select for your manufacturing, or you want to decide how much inventory you want to keep. in your stocks or whatever. So whatever you want to do, you require the decision, the big data, what is needed. And data in olden days used to be numerical. That means if an inventory, how much inventory should I keep next week? It depends on the sales on the last week. But now it all depends on the social media, what people are saying, what are going to be the future, this one and so on. The big question is, what data from suppliers, customers, governments, and local environment should one collect and analyze? What data should I analyze? That becomes a big question. And vetting data, cleaning data, validating the data, and working through data becomes a really crux of what has to happen. So, for example, if you take an aircraft, if you say aircraft has an engine, and the engine maintenance is basically is done by the maintenance people, and it is maintained either every 3 months they stop and doing something, but now the maintenance crews, the aircraft will tell the maintenance crews the aircraft subsystems and give real-time information to help aircraft operations. So in other words, the aircraft engine has all these IoT devices which will tell what is happening and so on. And similarly about human bodies and so on. So there are a lot of things that are happening in the big data decision making. So descriptive analytics, this is my last slide, where enables organizations to learn from their past. That's what happens with ChatGPT and all that. ChatGPT, everybody says, so it is not giving me good results. That's because it takes data from which is 2 years old. Predictive analytics is a technique that uses past data trends to predict what is going to happen. And prescriptive analytics, its question is what should happen and how to influence it. That is the future ready and so on. So surviving in a world of disruptions and rapidly developing technologies. That is what needed. That's what my presentation says. Today's youngsters are likely to be employed in roles that do not exist now. Responding to unanticipated societal challenges and using unimaginable technologies. All of us use a cell phone. When I ask people after 10 years, what are you going to do? Are you still going to use cell phone? God knows. So basically, so youngsters are to be future ready to cross the big divide. That's the big divide. So I think this is the education institutions' responsibility to train them to be future ready. You need not have to teach everything. You have to tell them, look, things are going to change. Be ready for the change. So with this, I will now invite my speakers to talk about to give their address. And the first speaker is this one. She is going to talk on education and artificial intelligence, critical and university approach, a critical and university approach. So she is a professor from, you can introduce yourself. Yes.
Hear me? All right. Thank you so much, Professor, for the introduction and for your presentation. Thanks for giving me a word. So I am Dr. Galyna. I come from Singapore, from the Nanyang Technological University. Before I tell you a bit more about the state with the AI and the university a little bit briefly, I just wanted to give some of my reflections based on this, emergence into the atmosphere of AI and education, and the students and all the professors. We have been discussing this topic for 2 days. It makes me think, we are in a very wonderful era now. We are at the beginning of something new and very interesting. It's probably the first time that humans have created something which is very nice, very helpful, very complex, very complicated. And I have a feeling that the humans do not know how to handle it. It's not the first time humans created things. Who knew, like 30 years ago, who knew that we will be carrying computers with ourselves? I have my phone here. It's everything to me. It's my address book. It's my phone. I mean, everything but the phone, right? Only sometimes I do. It's my chat. It's my everything. So, I mean, even my little notes I have here. So, and there is so much use for it, and there is so much of joy having it. It has released a lot of things which we didn't even know about. It has eased our life tremendously. So AI, who created AI? Humans, right? Okay, the question, who created humans? It's an interesting question. Everybody has a take and the answer on it, right? Some people say God created humans. Some people say humans created themselves. I won't go into that discussion. Okay, let's take the stance, for example, that human has been created by God. All of us have got our own approach. I come from a Christian family, birth family back in Ukraine. I like Hindu philosophy, so it's Krishna Bhagavan created God, right? Or Lord Almighty. Or it can be Lord Almighty, so I want the applause here also. Or Allah, right? So when Prof. Philip showed us the movie at the beginning, I felt that it looked a bit apocalyptical, like a bit scary. And it reminded me the parallel between the Kurukshetra, when Arjuna was confused. He didn't know what to do. He was scared. It's that moment when there has to be done something about it, right? We don't know. We are confused. We feel threatened. And Krishna could have said, oh, Arjun, you look dangerous. I don't want to talk to you. Just get lost. But he didn't because he really wanted to help. So God comes with a code of conduct for their creation. So at this point in time, humans created something, and we are thinking now that there has to be some code of conduct with it and for it, something which is unknown. It's like a child, we give birth to a child and then we don't even know this person, right? So, and then like Prof. Rajiv rightly said, like if you start teaching your students at 25 how to behave ethically, I'm sorry, you are 25 years late. So we have to set the stuff. So today, this is my take, how I feel about it. And I feel that more than anything else, the educators now, we are grappling with our own idea of how to handle the AI, because I'm not worried so much about the students, they will be very fast with taking the stuff, but it's good for us to know how we work in collaboration. So just a small revelation for today. I was chatting with GPT this morning, I am not, I don't use it extensively. I started using it more extensively for my own work and literature reviews. I didn't like to use it from the beginning because I was not satisfied with the quality it produces, but now it's getting better and better. So I was chatting with the GPT today in the morning, and then I asked 3 questions. Who are you? Of course, a very nice answer. I am ChatGPT, such and such, language generated AI, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then I asked, how are you different from me? And then ChatGPT gave me a really wonderful answer, the very nice points, ChatGPT knows I'm a human. somehow, I don't know, whatever intelligence it is, it knows I'm a human. So it gave me a very nice list, how he or she or it, yes, I'm AI, yeah, they always say. So how is it different? So they can process things with much more speed. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm not competing with you, fine. Data retrieval, I can do that too, but you can do it faster. Multitasking, I'm not good with multitasking, but there are some people who are very good, but still AI is much better. Accuracy, okay, so I'm like taking a critical approach at what AI is telling me. So accuracy, fine, very good. You will compare the stuff, the data and all, but I'm still doubting, how do I know that what you're giving me for my citations and all, is it accurate? So I still have to check with that, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. Language translation, okay, fine, fair enough. That works well. Consistency, okay, they don't get tired, for many hours. They can just answer your questions. Humans can't do that. Yet again, if something attacks AI, then they go out of order. So we don't know. And then what do we have? Learning. Well, you can learn, I can also learn. So then I ask, then in the same list, the AI gives me the things which are different. So AI tells me that humans have creativity, empathy, and emotional intelligence. So this is something which we differ, but do we really, So this is something we have to think about. So before we go, and work with our students, we have to settle these questions for ourselves. And the third question which I asked AI was, who am I? Relevant question, isn't it? What did AI tell me? I don't have data on that, which I am very happy about. It means that, okay, my identity is confidential. People can't just, get my data, my personal data is not hijacked, but I don't get the answer to the question. What is this question? Who am I? It takes life to figure it out. Good if you start thinking about it early. So I did start thinking about it early, and I became an educator. I'm from a family of teachers. So it brings me to my field, education. And I'm very grateful to Prof. Vishwa that he put me first, because I also believe that no matter which industry we are dealing with, which area, business, I don't know, high technologies, biotechnologies, education is the core. We're all looking up to teachers to do the education in the appropriate area. So it's a basement, it's a foundation. So so I work in NTU as a researcher now, researcher in education in the Educational College, which is National Institute of Education, part of NTU. NTU is the Nanyang Technological University. It's it's in the top 30 universities in the world, and one of the best in Asia, Southeast Asia, and across Asia. NTU, Singapore is generally very on par with all the technologies, with the developments, first class in the world. And NTU already offers the undergraduate course for artificial intelligence and also the Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence. So these two courses are offered. So these questions are covered. I won't be the ChatGPT here. I won't be giving the information about what is offered there. So anybody can just Google and see. So education. There are no courses for that in the National Institute of Education. So how do I see education? We have, in our university, we have teaching component, and we have the research component. So, and we do research in both education and the industries. NTU cooperates very widely and very vastly with different industries. So how do we look at teaching? We have been discussing, so let me just, we have been discussing how do we do the assessments, right? Somehow I've been listening to the presentations, very vast varieties of presentations yesterday and today. So A lot of people are concerned about the assessments. So yes, assessments are important, but why are we only talking about assessments? You know, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues. She's a full-time faculty in NTU in the language department, and we were discussing that nowadays it's increasingly difficult, much more difficult for her to grade the students. But then we also started discussing what is different now. You know, so she doesn't. She is not able to pinpoint. I mean, it's difficult to understand for the information getting from the students for the assessment if it's done by AI, if it's done by Google, and all. So we were thinking that and everybody knows that information is not enough. So there has to be the critical component. So she and I, we were talking that we need to have a different approach to assessment. We need to have the different angle to it. The tasks should be designed in a different way. And why are we only talking about assessments? Is the assessment the direct indicator of learning? Everybody asks this question. Well, it's a big question, right? So assessment, but what about teaching and learning? What we as teachers have to change in our approach to how we teach the students. We were talking about the teacher cheating in the assessments, but if there is cheating, it means that there is some pressure. You know, ethical conduct has always been there. There are always people who are more honest, and there is always people who are less honest because they can't take pressure. So such things as integrity, such things as honesty, such things as openness. So NTU doesn't have the requirements, and NIE also, or regulations. There are regulations, but there are no. It's not a must whether the teachers, the faculty, and the researchers whether they need to use AI in their teaching or they don't have to. So it's up to the discretion. But there are basic rules in NTU which outline the things like accountability, integrity, ethics, transparency. So it is stated in NTU regulations that if people use the AI for their literature reviews or for their teaching or for any of their writings, they have to acknowledge. So everything has to be done transparently. So I just wanted to conclude that probably it's the first time in our lives that humans are actually forced to sit and think, what is it that makes us humans and different from AI?
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Nice to have all of us here. Last night, Tilak is here. Where's Tilak? He fetched me from airport, the MBA student, and Tilak asked me this question, which made me think, and I thought it's worth sharing with all of us today. He said, "Sir, I'm doing my MBA. I'm from Chennai. Now I hear this AI and all that. I'm getting very worried," he told me. I said, "Why, Tilak? Will I be obsolete in the industry? Will the industry wants me? Because I'm spending so much money, 2 years of my life doing MBA. If AI can do all the managers' thinking and decision making, then why am I doing MBA for?" So that made me really think, right? Like big hit on me. I'm an educator teaching MBA students back home in my university, right? I'm sure my students have the same question, but they didn't ask me. They have to ask me the question. So I would like to address that portion of it. As educators, what is our role? My son came to me, my second son doing accounting. He said, "Papa, I don't go for this class, Papa." I said, "Why?" "Papa, ChatGPT and YouTube's give me better lecture than my lecturer." Real story. We're laughing, but probably some of us, like what Rajiv said, using 7 years notes not updated. So this is where our slides can be. We have better slides in the system. They may not need our slides, therefore. So in our university now, we decided attendance no longer important. Students can come to class, don't come to class, because some students commented that I do not want to. I'm giving a wrong advice, maybe, but this is fact of life. So my 2 points I would like to highlight. Number one, as educators, how do I don't compete with AI, but how do I use AI to the benefit of me as educator and to benefit my students? That's why I think as educators, we have to really think about it, yeah? And I'm a HR person. I mean, I don't really buy in technology. I feel I need to be in the class to talk to my students, to engage them. right? But of course, I use technology to complement my teaching, right? Technology cannot do my teaching. I think I'm a better teacher than technology. So that is the first challenge as educators. How do we engage our students and make them realize that they have to come to class, because as an educator, my professor is going to give me more than what AI can probably give me. That's the first challenge and as an educator. Second point, industry expectations. I don't think at any point in time as educator, I can satisfy industry's expectation. Industry always on a blaming mode, right? Unemployment rate very high, educators not doing good job. That's industry perspective. Your graduates can't think. Your graduates cannot communicate. They're always on a blaming mode. So what I do in my teaching in MBA courses in Malaysia and Singapore as well, campus Singapore as well. So I try to don't compete industry. I don't go and fight with them. I bring industry to my class. So an example to quote, when I teach HR module MBA, I bring HR guys from industry. Can you please come and tell me in my class as part of the case study to my students, what problem are you really facing in HR in your organization? Let my students solve your problem. So that's how I bring industry to me, and I get industry players to come to my classroom. I work with them. So my point is very simple. As an educator, I have to think smarter than AI. I have no choice. Otherwise, I become irrelevant. I become irrelevant. In a class of 80 students, if I see only 20 students sitting there, I think something is not right with me as an educator. That is my take on it. Right? So I have to be very creative. I have to be smarter than AI. Number two, I do not want to compete with anybody. I want to collaborate with everyone. I see AI, I see technology not as substituting me, but I see them as complementing me in my teaching, right? And one point is now about ethics, right? A very interesting point about ethics, right? So now we have to teach ethics ethically. That's a challenge. So many of us teaching ethics unethically. That's a problem we are facing. So we have to really, educate. I explained this one. This particular dean of a business school, not my university, different university, he gave a New Year speech. And this guy, we all know he can't speak good English. He can't really converse well in English. In that particular speech, he gave an excellent speech to a group of students and faculties. Everybody started thinking, this guy, that is not his text. He was giving a perfect speech. And then they found out, students are very smart, they found out the text was actually taken from ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually wrote a New Year's speech for a dean. So now this example is a bad example, because if my dean can do that, then why are you stopping me from using ChatGPT to answer my assignment assessment questions, right? And I like the point that I think Stephen mentioned just now. I less concerned about answers nowadays. I'm more concerned about how you get the answer. I want to know you as a student. Tell me how you reflect yourself and tell me how you come to the answer. I do not want to read your 500-word answer. I want to read your 150 words reflection, how you come to that answer. That is how I deal with my students. That is my few points to address how to meet the academic challenges, education challenges, to meet industry's expectations. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, so I'm Sreenivasa Kumar. I come from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, the computer science department. I've been teaching for something like more than 25 years now. Various subjects, including databases, information systems, knowledge, and applied ontologies and various things. I think I would like to bring in a completely slightly different kind of a perspective to this discussion. There is the current scenario about the generative AI and in general the AI tools is, in my opinion, is a little bit hyped up, and I will tell you why I think like that. And then one of the challenges that we as educators will find is to also kind of temper these expectations about AI. in the industry, and also properly kind of educate the students as to how exactly this technology needs to be used. So let me kind of elaborate on some of these points that I'm talking about. So, so it's, of course, there are very good positive aspects about the current technology, which is AI, and also what is now called as generative AI. I don't know whether, I mean, you might not have not know the most recent announcement in this field is Gemini from Google. And about a couple of hours back, Google stopped their surveys about generating images from text, and then they kind of suspended that task. And the reason why it happened is that the AI was generating socially unacceptable situations. Okay, so while it is very good at things that you can don't have specific kind of measures to kind of measure and then decide. Like, for example, a piece of music can be generated, and then people will appreciate it, some people will like it, some people may not like it. It's okay. But then if you ask it to give a a specific answer for a mathematical question, and if it gets it wrong, then that you can clearly figure out that there is something wrong, right? So that is the one of the challenges that the technology is now facing, in the sense that the technology does not know what it does not know. That is the one of the fundamental issues that as people who have been involved in these things, we can appreciate that. So I would want to temper the expectations of the industry in that sense that there is a responsibility to kind of use these tools in a certain way. So it needs to be verified. What it generates needs to be verified, and in order to kind of verify that, you should be equally knowledgeable about what you have asked. And so the application of this entire thing in the education, where the educator's goal is to bring somebody up in that domain, whatever domain they are teaching. So while you are teaching, the expectation of the person being taught is that the person who is teaching knows it completely. There's no iota of doubt about that aspect in the teacher, in the student's mind. But then when you use generative AI, which answers everything with a certain probability, this thing will become a issue. So I cannot give an answer to a mathematical question and then say that it is 75% accurate. And what does it mean, right? So, and you have a tendency to kind of mislead a young student into thinking that something is correct while it's not actually correct. So these are the various interesting issues that we have been looking at as part of our research there. So now it's also kind of in the academia, it is kind of being acknowledged that my take on this, why am I elaborating on this, is that not everything is I mean, there is a lot more for us to do. Okay, So while but we have to be cautious about where we are applying this technology, and that. So I can elaborate a little bit more in a Q&A session, if necessary. Yeah, and it's another thing that I want to tell you is that these technologies are extremely expensive to build. Extremely expensive to build. A colleague of mine was telling me the other day that it's embarrassing to write a proposal to develop our own Bharat GPT. There are efforts now to generate Bharat GPT because as the AI technology becomes powerful, countries need to be aware that it becomes a critical technology, and then countries have to kind of also have a stake and own that. They have to have their own AI. So a new term that is being talked about in the community is called AI sovereignty. So countries need to have their own AI. I cannot depend on somebody's AI because if somebody can block that AI. And so as AI becomes a critical technology, I better have my own AI. I cannot depend on somebody else's AI. And in order to do that, you have to invest. And a huge amount of investments are needed in these things. So you can probably get those actual figures. And there's a huge. So in this context, it's actually kind of very we need to kind of educate managers of technology that it's better to cooperate and then have treaties between our countries in order to kind of collaboratively develop a critical technology like this, rather than everybody burning a huge amount of resources in building these models. These models are very, very expensive to build. Back when the GPT is running, the huge data center that is consuming a huge amount of power somewhere. Okay, so that's and that aspect also kind of brings in the disparity. For example, the academic departments can no longer do very meaningful AI research because they really don't have the resource. They cannot compete with OpenAI or that kind of investment. I mean, those people are talking about $7 trillion investment. We cannot do that. Nobody else can do that. So only if people can do that. So these are the various interesting aspects. These are all challenges that we need to face when we want to bring in when we talk about AI and higher education and the impact on the society. So I think with that, I would like you to take on some questions and whatever. I can elaborate on some of these things.
But the issue is, can you hear me? Yeah. So when there is good, there is always bad. In the Indian literature, we say wherever when you churn something to do something like AI, something bad comes out, good comes out, and so on. So you have to basically be ready for both good. I mean, what Sreenivasa is talking about is about deep fake. You must have seen on the TV lot of this one coming. When you are talking in a public speech, they can take that image and then put something somewhere else and so on. But more other issues that I want to ask is, for example, data storage. You want to store the data, and when you want to do this one, lot of banks have their own servers, lot of institutions have their own servers and so on, and Amazon and others, they provide you this one. But what about cyber attacks? There is cyber attacks that are happening all over the world and to collect that information and so on. So, I mean, how can we prevent the cyber attacks? I mean, you can make this one. Is there any issue, any research that is being done anywhere for you, how to prevent the cyber attacks? And the second thing is about education. One of my friends is from IIT Delhi. He was saying that, oh, look, I had to give a question paper and so on. And I asked ChatGPT for the questions. So he was telling me, ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has given a lot of questions and all that. I said, guy, your student also can ask, what is the question that these guys have for this particular subject you can give, and the ChatGPT will give the same question, right? So the students also know the question. But is there any way we can avoid this kind of duplication on this one, giving it to both the friends and enemies and so on? And also, there is, of course, what Sreenivasa is talking about, there is the risk. There is always risk. But how do you prevent those risks? How do you, I mean, you cannot, if you want to create, prevent risk, then you have to stop using AI, stop using new technologies and so on. But how do you safeguard yourself against those things? These are all the research topics that one has to look at. But if you want to discuss any of these three about the question paper, have you given any questions using AI or ChatGPT?
I wanted to, you asked about the data protection and the cyber attacks. So we do have the protection of the research data in the university, and it's highly confidential. And we, so for the research, we only keep data for 10 years, and then the data gets destroyed after that. Raw data. And then we also have regulations in place for the primary use, for the secondary use, but nobody is safeguarded, nobody. I don't know the technical side of it, but we regularly receive the emails from our, IT people telling us increase, the safety of your password, increase, be careful not to, turn any links when anything is sent to you. Amount of phishing emails is increasing exponentially, so yeah, there is this phenomena of these attacks is there, and our IT, they're working very hard on that. So the institution, the university takes care of that, but it's not for free, it costs money. So we do generate a lot of data in NTU in multiple areas. Like, it's just my educational for in our educational center, there is loads and loads of quantitative, qualitative data, and all that has to be protected. That is not to speak about the articles, like only the passworded access and all the intellectual property, but all the raw data, even the raw data. Yes, it can be hijacked. It can happen, but and like you say, nothing can safeguard us from that. So yeah, just it's like, yeah, you send your child, anybody can get hurt, anybody can get your heart broken, but you still have to live your life, right? There is no safeguard for that. So as for the questions, yes, well, I do interact when I do the research workshops for my younger researchers, for like to do how to do the literature review and all. I do use ChatGPT, but I'm very open with that with my students, and I tell them, with my younger researchers, the people who I'm teaching, I'm very open with them that when you ask that question to ChatGPT or any other generated AI, when you get the answers, be critical about it. Check your facts. You can't just blatantly just take and bring it in. So this moment of critical thinking should always be there. You have to, I do ask the questions also, and I'm open to that. And I think this transparency is very important. They have to know that, when my first university teacher for English language linguistics, we ask her for a certain word in English, and you know, like there is always this component of losing face. Do I know? Do I not know? I'm a teacher. I need to know more. Is it okay to admit that I don't know? And she very simply, very humbly, she says, "Oh, you know, I don't know this word. Let's take a dictionary and check it." And two, she and me, we sat together and we found that word and we saw the translation of it. And yeah, so I think there has to be this honesty and transparency and integrity between the educator and the students. That's how I see it. But I think everybody has a different take on it.
Yes. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. I agree with you. But let me take the second question, assessment. Right? You know, my son came back, my second son doing accounting. He's told me, Papa, this particular lecture, I only attended 2 out of 11. But you know, I'm confident I'll get at least a B for subject. So how is possible, you know? Because where I come from, we must attend lectures, talk to lecturers, you know, get the question tips, and then you answer. Say, Papa, this lecturer, I observed past year questions, Papa. The trend, I know the trend, which chapter comes out, which semester, which topic. So I use ChatGPT to formulate the potential questions. And I use ChatGPT to also give me potential answer, Papa. And the lecturer cannot catch me plagiarism because this is an exam hall, written exam. So they can't turn it in on the written exam. So therefore I'm safe. And true enough, the fellow got a B for its subject. So the question to us as educators again, right? Assessment. If you're going to do the same thing like what his teacher did, then do they need us as educator? This is very important, right? So going back, question of why are we assessing our students? What are we assessing them on, and how are we going to assess them so that we can achieve the learning outcome of that subject we teach? Otherwise, becoming like merely like if AI can do, robots can do, you become a robot, not an educator. That is my take on it. It's assessment. So going back, being more creative, being more innovative in creating the assessment if need to give assessments. Otherwise, think about method, how can we assess our students? Right? And that's point number 2, the cyber attacks. What can we do to stop that? Right? You can't really stop that unless we stop AI completely. But can we stop that? No way. It is part of our life. You like it or not, technology, robotic systems, AI, ChatGPT, whatever. It's more and more important in our life, becoming like part of our life, right? So question asked 20 years ago, do you have handphone? So question asked 20 years ago. If I ask the same question now, it's a wrong question. Now I don't ask, do you have handphone? My question is, how many handphones you have? That's a right question to ask now. So technology is part and parcel of our life, right? So we cannot run away from them. But again, we have like what we have systems in place. We have your firewalls and whatnot to protect. I was searching for some notes for today's session, and this word kept coming out. The word ethics, the word integrity keep coming out. So I think it's time for us to be ethical in what we do. It's time for us to also educate our students out there to be ethical in what they do, right? So it's not about getting A's unethically, but it's getting B's ethically. So that's what I told my son, you got a B, but Papa happy got a B, but Papa not happy the way you got a B. So now I'm really not sure who to blame. To blame my son to do that, or to blame the teacher who didn't think creatively how to assess this point. So that is my take, a quick take on the both questions, Prof.
Yeah. Yeah, I think going on this cyber tax kind of, I think probably AI is still not applied in the prevention of this. I think AI is going to be a very potential answer for this kind of thing, because AI can do integration of information from huge number of sources as compared to humans, and then be able to check whether that kind of a thing is properly happening or not, and so it can probably prevent the cyber attacks if it's employed in that way. So I have a feeling improve the situation.
We have time for a few questions. Audience, anybody? From the students or anybody?
Sure. My question is to Professor Sreenivasa Kumar. He was telling about industries using AI responsibly. And is it not educators' responsibility to teach our students? Because what is the industry? It's consisting of the people whom we send there. Is it not educators' responsibility to use AI responsibly? That's one. Secondly, you're also telling, don't ask a question to generative AI for which you don't know the answer. Again, this is a dichotomy of what is first, tree first or seed first. Are you getting the answer from there? You already know the answer. You want to check the answer. How exactly a teacher deals with AI? Does he supplement his knowledge? Does he check his knowledge? What exactly is his role? Both these questions are still haunting the educators. So perhaps you can throw more light or clarity on both the subjects, both the points that you made.
Yeah. So about I think everybody has that role. I mean, surely educators have the role to teach how to responsibly use AI. And then, of course, I also would say that the industry also shares that responsibility in the sense that they also, when you say uh, when you make a technology and then it's not going to be used. So, yeah. So if you use a certain, if you give some technological services, which you are not sure whether they're going to be put to good use. So do we also need to share that responsibility? Is another question that I would like to bring that. So surely educators have the responsibility to kind of inculcate in the responsible use of AI for the students. Yeah. Even society at large, I think, needs to. I think, as Maniam also was telling us, I think ultimately ethics of an individual is important in the sense that some tool is there. Should I actually use it for a certain purpose or not use it for a certain purpose? Is an individualistic decision. And then I think ethics, culture, and all those things should guide them in that manner.
But my answer to this question is, wherever there are angels, there are demons. So I don't think you can teach anybody anything, but I don't think you can stop people misusing something. So that is where the government regulations and other things should come in, and so on. So the education institutions cannot stop teaching these new subjects. For example, people can use RFID to do a lot of other things. They can use IT for your website. They can hack. They can do something. So that doesn't mean you cannot have a website. So basically, this one is you should teach people not to do it and how to be careful, how to be responsible, and so on. And also, there should be government other regulations that should come in.
Yeah, actually, I also want to add on to Pastor Viswanathan's observation on this. I think it is becoming increasingly urgent that societies and governments kind of wake up to the to the power of the AI technologies that engineers and technologies are producing, and correctly respond to those things by putting the what kind of regulations to bring, and are those regulations enforceable? These are very, very interesting questions that both society at large and governments have to really address at this stage, I think.
Thank you. If I just add a little bit on that as well, I think ultimately the word collaboration, right, cooperation between academia and industries is very vital. We have to, instead of us blaming or putting the pressure on other party, I think we all should work together and see ultimately how can we create something that will benefit the mankind, which involves academic students as well as the industry. So that must be done responsibly, and the word accountability must be there. The word ethics must be there. The word integrity must be there. So otherwise, I think it's a long journey, but we have to start somewhere. Otherwise, I think mentioned we don't teach the child how to behave at the age of 25, then I think it's too late. We were talking about 10 years time in the same conference, sitting down talking about why didn't do it 10 years ago. It's never too late, but we have to start somewhere, educating people, working together so that it can benefit all of us in a very ethical way. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is to all of you. So, sir, here. Okay. So, as you all know that AI can be used in biomedical engineering. So, there is a possibility of creation of new viruses or new bacteria. So, this would be a perilous state of affairs for the whole world. So, don't you think that there should be an international body that can regulate the use and development of AI?
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt that there should be a regulatory body. Yeah, I agree.
But right now, AI is being used by governments, by education institutions, by individuals, and so on. So it has become so prominent for everyone. It is not possible to have a universal this one. But I mean, you can bring in a lot of regulations and so on. But the point is that when technology is available, you can use it for anything. When this AI is available, you can use it for anything. But what do you use for and so on is something different. For example, a lot of my friends use ChatGPT when they are doing research. They want to this one, but I still go through a lot of library books and all that and so on. That's my this one. But others say, why are you wasting your time? ChatGPT will tell you what are the references here, what you should talk and so on and all that. So basically, the issue here is that regulate. Everybody, the regulations say you should behave well. But is everybody behaving well? You should not you should not kill somebody, you should not do something, you should not beat somebody, and so on and all that. This technology has become so that it has become very personal. So it has to be individual based, this one, according to me. And so as an individual, you make yourself the kind of regulations that you should do. Governments can regulate, but yeah, but the only point is that, of course, the government only, for example, in a lot of places, they suspend the internet, they suspend this one and all that. That is the way in which the government should act, but it is not the solution to this. So this is like having your own soul, your own body. It is yours, your own brain. So that is what it is.
Sir, I have a question with Professor Sreenivasa Kumar, and he was telling that country need to have its own artificial intelligence. And we are living in the globalized situation, and we just opened our economy and other things, technology, everything, so that we enjoy. Give and take policy is available in the use of technology by countries. But we also know that there are certain countries that restrict the use of certain AI features and other things. So if that is so, how can we say that we need to have our own artificial intelligence? I quote one example. The WhatsApp is so aggressive throughout the world, but there was one similar featured technology, or what do you say, Telegram. Telegram, it came to the market, but we don't think that many of us use it. So we live in a globalized area where we can explore a lot of good things from us, and sometimes ours may be qualitative one, and sometimes ours may be, when we compare with other nations, maybe of a little standard, low standard. So kindly throw light on that, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, see, when I say AI, it is not just that, the software, the systems and all that. It's now pretty complex, this whole application. Because you probably know that the whole, all of these models are actually running off thousands of graphical processing units, GPUs. So the more GPUs you have, the better models you can run, and these are the things. So it is ultimately going into physical infrastructure, and as countries, we cannot, probably not have our own physical infrastructure. So that's from that angle. While we probably collaborate and then use technologies that are available and then cooperatively with other governments, but when it comes to a critical kind of situation where we have to have our own resource, then it's essential for us to have that resource. That's the take on that. As a country, you cannot say that I cannot train a large model nowadays. So, and that requires you to have physical infrastructure. The physical infrastructures are, today, the most leading companies are designing their own chips that can be used for AI. Okay, and there is only one company right now, as you probably know, NVIDIA, that supplies GPUs to everybody. But that cannot be allowed to be the situation for long, because, and that's why leading companies are designing their own chips and coming up with their own, hardware infrastructure for running AI models. So in that context, it's important for us to, the government of India is actually now focusing a lot of, as a government and society, we need to kind of take ownership about the critical technologies. Like, for example, VLSI is a critical technology, and that's the one that powers many of the other technologies like AI. Yeah, that's where the issue comes up.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to have this panel discussion. I want to thank all my colleagues here for being here. So, and we are sitting and standing before lunch. So basically, I would like to thank everyone. And yeah.
Thank you.
This was an extremely wonderful and engaging session, and I'm sure we all have a lot of points to take home. Thank you to all the speakers for making this an interactive session, and to our audience for actively participating in this.
I would now request Father Dr. Roy Ibrahim, Director XIME Bangalore, to present the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers. First up, we have Professor N. Viswanadham. Next, we have Dr. Maniam Kaliannan. Next, we have Professor Sreenivasa Kumar. Next, we have Dr. Galyna Kogut.